je weer kijkt naar een nieuwe aflevering van Meet the Pro. En in deze aflevering hebben we een hele speciale en bekende gast. Hij is filmmaker, documentaire filmmaker en fotojournalist. Ik heb het over niemand minder dan Joel Santos. Hij komt uit Portugal, dus we schakelen direct over naar het Engels. Hi, Joel!
Hello, Willemijn. How are you
How
doing?
you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you very much. Can you maybe present yourself? Because there may be some viewers that don't know you yet.
Okay, so my name is Joel Santos. I'm a photojournalist and a documentary filmmaker. I tend to specialize in remote regions of our world because I like to, document fading traditions and also raw nature. So I love to go to volcanic areas and be in touch with the erupting volcanoes and with lava. So that's my passion actually. But besides that, I also write books. I publish into magazines. So I don't really know what's my job because I have plenty of them.
You do a lot of nice stuff, right? So can you maybe tell us how you cope with this current situation?
Yeah, so it's been hard for everybody, and I was working actually in India. I was shooting a documentary there for a TV channel here in Portugal, when suddenly I was shooting a time lapse on a rooftop when we got this notice that all visas would be cancelled, and so if there's no planes coming into India, we wouldn't have also a flight back to Portugal, so I had to escape. And when I got here, I had to fulfill quarantine because I was with plenty of people, so thousands of people during religious ceremonies in Varanasi, for example. So yeah, I had to fulfill this quarantine. And again, overnight, the reality had changed for me. So I could no longer travel, which is what I do. I could no longer teach here in our classroom because we couldn't be with people. So I had to actually reinvent myself, not only what I want to shoot, but how could I teach people photography during these workshops. So I used Skype like we're using now and Zoom, so I could still be in touch with my students, but also give them some inspirational videos about something that they could do at home, because when I started photographing back in 2003, nice. I was finishing my master thesis, so I was stuck at home between my bed and the fridge, So I only had as a main subject tap water. So I did a video about how to make incredible photos just using tap water, and that resonated a lot with my viewers, which was incredible actually.
Wow. Nice. Tell us, have you been to Holland or the Netherlands, I should say?
Yes, I've been quite a few times to the Netherlands. First time I was really young boy, maybe 6 years old. My father loved to drive long distances, so we would start in Lisbon and end up in Germany and then go to the Netherlands. But most recently, I had this really, really kind invitation from Canon Netherlands. So I was there to attend the Canon Talks live show and also to record a podcast. And I believe that people can still look into it if you provide the link somehow to them. I think it was an amazing production. And I regard, Canon Holland and you guys at Kamera Express like my family. So thank you very much for that invitation back then, and also
thank you very much. We'll make sure we put the link in the description below the video.
Yeah, look at that.
We'll be okay. Okay, good. Let's go to the first part of this interview, and that's called the most recent photo of Joel. We gaan naar de laatste foto van Joel Santos. The most recent photo of Joel, and actually you picked 2 series, right?
Yes, so about my recent photos, they are actually not a single photo, but a series of photos. And the first of them is about, this situation with the COVID crisis, And so Lisbon is a very touristic place nowadays. It's, I believe, the 3rd most visited capital in Europe after London and Paris. And so it was absolutely weird to witness Lisbon without a single soul, walking in the streets, not a single car. We have 2 big bridges crossing the river, so empty. And so I felt the need to go outside and just document that as well. But I needed people to understand it was a real photo, not a long exposure where you can, blur people out of the frame, or even with the kind of light that I don't use, because I usually tend to shoot really early or really late in the day. So I wanted to be really daytime, so people understand it was not because people were sleeping back at home, but actually not being able to, during the state of emergency, to be outside their homes. So for that I used actually drone shots, because with the drone shot you cannot make a long exposure. And I went to the most iconic places in Lisbon, like one of the bridges, some of our main squares, and as you can see through the photos, you will not see anybody. Sometimes you would spot a car, because public transportation never fully stopped. So you would see like one car, two cars at most, but anybody, not a single soul was walking on the street. So I hope we never experience this again. But I see photos as a kind of a book, like a repository of knowledge and information. And those photos, I believe, would be really valuable in the future, so we can show these to the following generations, and they can witness what we have experienced during the 2020. So yeah, that is one of the series, and the second series is from one of my latest self-fund assignments, because most of my assignments are decided by me, so I try to pursue stories that I really love, that I really think would be really interesting to shoot. And so I went to South Sudan. It's not a safe country at all. It's a very problematic country, but I like and I love those kind of situations where we can have access still to very pristine ways of living. And so I had the chance to be with several tribes, one of them the Mundari, which somehow are already known to people, but I wanted to not only shoot photographs, so stills, in a more intimate way than I used to see, but also shoot video in a way I would never seen before. So I wanted to take these latest cameras and lenses and try to bring, the aesthetics that I usually tend to have in my photographs, and bring it into the video. So I cannot share with you right now, that footage, because it will be released as a documentary in the last trimester, of 2020. Yes. But the photos, yes, I can share with you, and I believe they show a really, what puzzles me about people around the world is how do they find happiness? Because that's also like a personal pursuit for me, what makes me happy. And so I love witnessing tribes, because of course our realities are absolutely different. And so I try to understand what makes them happy, how they survive, how they cope with problems. And also, because we can only live the present and move towards the future, when you living together with the tribe, you can actually travel back in time. So you can see yourself as you were in the past, when we were all nomads, where we all somehow were cattle herders. And it's beautiful to see that way of living and witnessing that before it fades away with the evolution and with development.
Yeah, correct. I love both series actually. When I saw one of the first pictures of that series of South Sudan, I was like, whoa, it's kind of a dreamy, mysterious setup. Actually, it's lovely. And then the drone photos of Portugal are actually, in my opinion, are art. There are so many patterns you see. It's nice. There are so many details.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So, thank you for sharing. We're going to the round of questions number 1. We gaan naar vragenronde nummer 1. Round of questions number 1, Joel.
Okay.
The first question is from Rijk Arns, and he's asking, how did you start with travel photography and documentaries, and how did you find your customers? How do you find your customers?
Okay, so as I've told you before, in 2004, my background is actually not being a photographer, so I was an economist, and so I was sent to East Timor to teach at university in Dili. So that experience allowed me to actually be in touch with a very different reality from my own. And so that's when all started, because although I was there to teach, I was confronted with this diversity of people and situations. And at the same time, because I'm very allergic to anti-malarial pills, so I can't take them. So actually, I had to stop shooting landscapes like I did like back then to shoot, and just travel into the mountains and be with the local people. So I would sleep under trees. I would travel like 14 hours straight just to be with them and to learn their ways and how to earn their trust, because it has been a country that was invaded during 25 years, so people were still very scared about some foreigners, especially ones holding something like a camera, and so actually I found out how much I loved to be with people, to learn their ways and to experience their culture. But at the same time, East Timor is part of the Ring of Fire. So I traveled a lot to Indonesia. I've been probably 17, 18 times in Indonesia. And so I know I got in touch with the volcanic landscapes more than I did in Portugal, because we do have volcanic islands. So the Azores and Madeira, they are volcanic, but not too active, but in Indonesia they are active. So actually I felt the adrenaline and the passion for being next to active volcanoes and to shoot them. So that together with the knowledge coming from my parents, because they were very addicted to traveling. I started traveling, I wasn't even 1 year old. I would be camping. My parents never gave up. They were very young, so they were about 19 and 20 when I was born. So
that's young, yeah.
Yeah, very young. So they did everything they should do with people at that age. And I was just like a friend, not a child, not a son, but a friend. And so I love that relationship that we have. And actually they put me into all these adventures. And my father mostly, he was very keen to photograph, so I was his favorite model. I would suffer a lot, I was put into ridges, cliffs, bridges, everything. So actually somehow that DNA got imprinted into me. So when these two circumstances met together, I just knew that I would love not being an economist, but someone who would travel and try to find more about stuff around the world.
Yeah, exactly. And so the second part of the question was, how do you find your customers?
Okay, so I shoot, as maybe somehow I did explain, for personal reasons. So I didn't start in photography to earn money or to be known or something like that, and I still do not operate that way. So I never take a photograph thinking this would be a nice cover or that client would love to see this kind of work. So most of the time clients come to me, which is very good because it's somehow is it's something that makes me happy that it happens that way, because it allows me to be still up to date after 17 years working as a photographer and also filmmaker. People coming to me because they like what they see, they like what they do, and so it's actually very good. It works out that way. So 95% of my time I embark in my own projects. And after I finish them, I tend to show them to either to magazine or to TV stations and so on. But there's no shortcut, so it happens step by step. even with the writing the books also step by step. But most of the times, I would say 90% of the times, clients come to me and not the other way around. So, and I'm very happy about that.
That's very handy.
Yeah.
Costs a lot of time, I guess, to find customers. So.
It does. It's very demanding, and you know, I'm very demanding about myself, and I'm a very impatient person. When I really want to do something, I must do it. So for me, waiting for someone to sponsor me or to back up me or something like that, it would take too long to me. So actually I try, and I believe that my past as an economist helps me a lot, because I'm very thorough planner, and I plan everything financially very, in a way that works, because as you know, photographers are not rich people, so they have to think really carefully about every step they take, because everything we do is a risk, physical risk, financial risk. So, but I also, in a way, like that, because everything I do comes out of me, and so there's value to that, I believe.
Super. We go to the second question. It's from Tamara Dangerman, and she's asking, what are your sources of inspiration?
Well, I don't have heroes, so to say, but definitely my father is a source of inspiration, because, he taught me how to use a computer when I was 4. He introduced me to photography when I was 5, although I was a lousy photographer. So the first camera he gave me, I just put it inside a natural pool. So I rimmed the camera on the first 5 minutes. So big disaster. But because I was because I was his favorite model, so I got in touch with a lot of photography because of him. And I have all National Geographic issues since I was born. So in a way, I was born into photography and also into computers. And as you know, computers also you have to, to create worlds. So you have to be picky about color, composition. And before, it was very demanding to program games. And my father also programmed games and other kinds of software. So I learned how to, to look at stuff and think about it and use it. So he's my main source of inspiration, but also Steve McCurry.
That's beautiful.
Because I love the way he works with color. As you know, most of my work is color. I find shooting in color much harder than shooting in black and white, because color can add, plenty of distractions. So you have to be careful about that. And because also Steve McCurry was the first to shoot some kind of situations, and I also try to be that person. I don't like to, shoot things that have already been shot or documented. So I value that a lot. And also he's very picky about composition and light, and I see myself that way as well. So I would say my father definitely, and Steve McCurry.
Okay, wow, cool. Question number 3. When you run into a child or an adult on your trip that you'd like to photograph, do you always ask permission before you take a picture? It's from Marel ZB.
Well, actually I have two kinds of approaches. Either I take a photo without people noticing I'm taking a photo, but one thing that I never do is running away from them. So 99% of my photos that I take with people not knowing, I will always show the photo to them, because I don't want just another stamp, so to say, to my collection. I want a photo with a story. So I need to learn about people behind the photo. And actually, photos are universal language. So with photos, even you don't speak the same language, with a photo, when you show a photo, actually you can communicate with people. So I also see that opportunity as a means to actually communicate with people. And most of the time, so I would say more often than not, me showing the photo allows me into their lives, so I can get into their lives and sometimes meet their parents and their friends, and the story starts to build up. So my really advice to people that like to shoot people and document people is just go there and talk with people, even if you're trying to be unnoticed. And I also do this in very dangerous countries as well. So I always tend to show people the photos I took. And if they somehow ask me to delete a photo, most of the times I will respect that, because I believe when you're dealing with people, most of all you have to respect them. So imagine if someone from India would come to my doorstep and start shooting photos in my face. I would love him to be, or her to be, respectful of who I am, where I am. So I try to be that person all the times. The second approach, of course, would be spend time, and I can spend minutes, hours, even days, even weeks with the community until I can earn their trust, and I'm not seen anymore as a foreigner, but as someone that is part of their daily lives, and so I'm invisible. Yeah, I'm invisible to them. So, and I have plenty of work done this way. So you have to, if you really want to go deeper, if you really want to take a different approach to your story, if you want really to be original and not be kind of social media kind of documentary person, you need to invest time with people, because people deserve your time, because you're taking something out of them, so you should also give back something to them. And giving your time, believe it or not, sometimes is the most precious thing, giving them attention. Showing them how important they are to you.
Yeah, nice. I got an extra question, actually a question of my own. How do you get your information to start a documentary or a photo series? I mean, like, you have to do some research. Do you work together with an anthropologist or a translator? Or
Yeah, so it depends on the destination. 3 quick examples. When I went first time to Mongolia to document for the very first time the nomad migration of the Kazakhs, so I did that, and another guy from BBC as well. So we went in different times of the year, and I did that in 2015. But actually, the dream to visit Mongolia came to my head in 1998. So sometimes imagine it can take, as you've seen, 17 years to accomplish a dream, because I was flying actually a KLM flight. So I had a stopover in Amsterdam, and I was, very nervous about that, that trip. So I was very excited, and I went to the window and I saw these beautiful mountains, and I saw in the screen Ulaanbaatar, and I said, wow, someday I have to come to Mongolia. And in 2015, it all came together. So I found out about a fixer that could help me, to organize, to have a power generator, to have a all-terrain vehicle, because I really wanted to go deep inside into the mountains. I didn't want. I want a family that have never had been in touch with a foreigner. So I wanted that. So yeah, it takes a lot of time, emails, research. Getting the right connections until you get to the place you want. And sometimes, like that situation, I ended up there without any certainty that I would accomplish my goal. But I did, and I had to travel like 5 days, doing 30 to 40 kilometers per day walking through the mountains with 1 to 2 liters of water per day, so severe dehydration.
It's a wonder you're still alive.
yeah. But this kind of assignments also teach you, I was there to photograph, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to, go from point A to point B alive. So that's pure simplicity in our lives. So yeah, so that's one way of planning a trip. It can take weeks or even months, and sometimes years, in your head, just building until the right time comes to do that. And sometimes it's just random, you meet someone in a very remote place and you talk to them, and sometimes they tell you something about a tradition, something about completely unknown, and then you stumble into that story. For example, I was in Ghana to document people that still up to date, children that are used as slaves for working in a lake. So I was shooting that story, but because of that story, I found this unknown fisherman community that they fish in a lake that was created by a meteor impact some million years ago. So they feel that lake not as a lake, but as an entity. So they feel the energy coming from the lake, so they cannot touch the water with metal. And I found that amazing. You know, I came from a country with a tradition of fishing, and so I spent 3 days until they allowed me to shoot that. So, but I was not expecting even to shoot that story. So I stumbled into that story. So you have to keep your senses open, your eyes open, because you never know when the next unknown story will present itself to you. But you have to be, you know, I don't believe in luck. I believe in being prepared, you know, and life is like a movie. You know, the frames are passing through your eyes, but if you're ready, if you're prepared, you can grab them. And so that's how I see life, actually.
Oh, nice. You should be a life coach as well, Joel.
You're being too nice, Wilmin.
Let's go to the next round. It's
Yeah.
portfolio foto number 1. We gaan naar portfolio foto nummer 1. So, portfolio photo number 1 is from Olaf Leisinga. What did you think about this photo?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for sharing your photos with me because you trust me. So thank you very much. Yeah, this photo is a very beautiful photo. I love backlit scenes, so I like the way the sun is peeking behind the window. The exposure is very well achieved, very well thought. Also, I love the mix between warm tones and cold tones. I actually love that. I try to use that as much as I can also in my work. Also, the mood is very nice with the soft haze on the land, so it's very beautiful. And also, of course, have like the counterweight to the tree is the windmill. So I actually really love this photo. It's very striking image. I would love to have it in my home, hanging in the wall. So that says a lot about the photo. Composition-wise, I also like it. Although I believe the windmill at the right side is a little bit too tight, so maybe a little bit too close to the edge of the frame. It's just a picky detail, but I'm very picky about details. Very hard, I'm very demanding with myself. So, but all in all,
You can always improve yourself, right? That's why we want to receive feedback.
Yeah. Sometimes the photos that I truly love today, I go to bed, thinking, oh, I love this photo. The next day I wake up thinking, oh, I should have done better. It happens all the time with me. Yeah, I'm like that. I'm a very, very unsatisfied guy with what I do, which troubles a lot my mother because I see. She asked me, how many photos do you like from those you've done until today? I say about 5, maybe. So, and my mother finds it very puzzling.
In general, you just love this picture as there's a good balance between like everything you need to put in a photo, right?
Yeah, I think this photo is about equilibrium, It's cold and warm, shadow and light, moodiness, and at the same time some raw nature to it. I believe this photo is about equilibrium. It's very well balanced.
I believe this is a Dutch nature, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, maybe the windmill, no?
Okay, let's go to the second round of questions. Vragenronde nummer 2. So, round of questions number 2. First question is from Dick van Vliet, and he's asking, what aperture do you use the most?
Yeah, so there's no recipe for apertures, like there's no gear you always use in a car. So I will use any range of apertures, so depending on the purpose, on the on the goal of my photo. So if I want to separate subject from background, of course, wide open, so 2.8, 4. If I want more depth of field, so I'll start using from f11 to 16 most of the times. Yeah, but there's no single aperture I use the most, so I just use the aperture that provides me the story, the visual story I want to achieve.
Of course, yeah. So we're going to the fifth question. It's from Hendrik Jonas. How do you work during long journeys when we're talking about batteries and to make a backup of your photos?
Sometimes I can find a power generator like petrol or solar, so I use it, but I can never trust. Murphy's Law is very strong in photography and videography, so you have to be very careful. So I usually travel with 11 packs of battery, I have to do that because most of the times I don't have a power outlet I can use, and because I'm very concerned about losing what I shoot, I always bring portable hard drives. So I have standalone hard drives that can read any kind of cards I use, and they are SSDs, so they can be dropped into the ground and not being damaged. So that's what I use mostly.
So you always have a backup?
Yeah, always. I triple backup. Always triple backup.
Triple backup.
And I also have two servers.
Just to make sure. Okay, next question. What is your favorite lens when you travel, and which do you use the most of the time? Prime or zoom lenses? It's from Annabel de Groot.
Okay, so I have to travel light, so I tend to value more zoom lenses than I do primes. But recently Canon released the RF 2870, which is for me a dream come true because it's the perfect mix between zoom and prime, because it's a 2870 f2 constant. So I have 28 2, 35 2, 52 and 70 f2. And so that's my all-time favorite lenses right now. That's for example, in the assignment I did in Niger, 95% of all my shooting, stills and video were done with that lens alone.
Wow. I also heard you got the 7200 f4, right?
Yes, for a long time I used the 7200 f4 until Canon also created this new amazing lens, the RF 7200 2.8, which is very small, very lightweight. And I really need that because I need to be discreet, but also I need to be concerned about weight because of airlines, and especially domestic airlines, because you cannot travel with more than a certain weight. And that lens allows me to have twice as much light, so it's a f2.8, so twice as much light. So it enables my creativity in a more powerful way, but weighing half a kilogram less than the standard 7200 2.8, the old one, I mean. So I never leave home without that lens as well.
Nice. Next question is from Henny de Jong. Apart from photographing, I saw that you also make videos. Yeah, we talked about that already, right? Which of the two do you like the most and why?
Although I do both, my passion is photography and will always be, because photography is the root, and because photography delivers the story in a way that I love. I can savor, I can, look at a single frame for a lot of time and appreciate all the details in someone's skin, in a landscape, and so on. And with video, you deliver the story to people. So the way you exercise the viewer's imagination is stronger, in my perspective, in a photo than it is in video. But that being said, I do love video because right now, with the gear we have, with the lenses, with the cameras we have, I can translate the aesthetics I have in photography into videography, which is really cool. And I'm having a blast also shooting videos as much as I can nowadays.
Yeah, sometimes photographers say that it's actually quite a different thing to make a video.
Yeah,
but you don't seem to have a problem with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty multitasking. Sometimes I'm flying a drone, shooting 3 cameras, one with time lapse, one with video, one with stills. And most people don't like that, but actually I love that challenge. I love to be in the red line in my brain, So and I believe you can be a better photographer, being a better videographer, and also being the other way around, because you have to achieve several levels of thought and concern differently, even the way you operate your camera. So, and I love that challenge actually. So yeah, I have fun doing that.
Cool. We're going to the next round, and that's what's in the bag. And you have to tell in 1 minute what's in your bag. We gaan naar what's in the bag. So, what's in the bag? You got 1 minute to show us what you got in your bag. Are you ready?
Yeah, I am. So, in my
Okay, here we go.
So I always use a black bag because I like to be discreet, and inside I have the EOS R with the 2870 f2. Then I have the 1535 stabilized 2.8 and the 7200 2.8, the RF lens, and also a Zoe Mini because I like to give prints to people, and because I'm really paranoid about backing up my GNAR box, SSD, and also all sorts of other recording devices like this Zoom device, and also my drone, and of course lots of batteries.
Wow, you're really much on time.
Okay, nice.
Very good. Nice. So that's a nice bag you have.
Thank you.
So let's go further to the next round. It's the portfolio round number 2. We gaan naar portfolio ronde nummer 2. Joel, portfolio round number 2, and this time we got a video from Digital Travel Couple, and they say, we would like to get feedback on our newest travel film. The story is fiction. Shots are being made in Myanmar during our journey in February. P.S. We bought all the gear we are shooting with at Kamera Express. That's something we like to hear, of course.
Of course.
That's nice. But yeah, what do you think about the video?
So I really enjoyed the video. I think it's really well filmed. They really took care with the light and the sound, so I really appreciate that in a video. I love the locations. I've been myself in those locations, so I believe they explored those to the best of their extent, so that's really positive. Although the audio is really good, at some points I felt that the transition between the mood from one act of the story to the second act and to the third act, maybe sometimes the transition is a little bit abrupt, I believe, but overall the audio is excellent. And also the script for the story is good. It's a love story, so it's about two people trying to be together again. And because there's a lot of build-up, so the video is about 9 minutes long. There's a 7.5 minute build-up to this kind of climax where they meet. And so it's just my opinion. The climax, in a way, I was expecting it to be stronger. I mean, when the time they finally meet and they should hug, I'm a Latin guy, so I'm a hugging guy. We are very, warm, and so maybe because...
You wanted it a bit more intimate.
Yes.
More intense.
Yeah, more intense. Maybe because I'm that kind of person, I was maybe somehow expecting it to be a little bit, strong, because you have a really big build-up. But all in all, I think the angles are very well thought. The way, the dynamics, the rotation of the camera is well explored together with more, set pieces in other places. So yeah, congratulations for the video. I'm really looking forward to the next ones. And I believe using Kamera Express gear helps a lot, no?
Yeah, it surely does.
Yeah, but the true talent lies behind the camera. So congratulations to both of them. It's really, really nice.
Thank you so much. We're going to the round of questions number 3. Vragenronde nummer 3. So Joel, round of questions number 3. The first question is from Clara Smith. What are the destinations you'd still like to travel to?
I would love to go to Mars if the Tesla guy releases the rocket to do it. But of course, here on Earth, I would love to visit, every country that I didn't visit until today, and there's a lot still to do. And of course, I would love to go again to many countries I've already been, because I love to, go deeper and deeper, finding different layers to the stories. So yeah, to sum up, everywhere in the world. But if I had to pick one right now, I would pick New Zealand, because it's a perfect antipode of Portugal. So if I dig a hole on the ground on the other side, I would end up in Nelson, so in New Zealand. And because of this COVID situation and the lockdown and etc., I would love to go as far away as I could and experience some beautiful nature that I'm sure I would find in New Zealand.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure about that. Yeah. Next question. What are your favorite destinations to travel to? And do you have a good travel advice for people who don't have a fat wallet? From Michael Schippers.
Okay, so my favorite destinations would be almost anywhere in the world that is remote, where I could find, tribes or active volcanoes. So that would be my prime destinations. And regarding the money you need to travel, of course you need money to do it, but like everything else in life is a trade-off. So you don't go for buying an expensive car, you save. You don't go to restaurants every day, so you save, and that's what I do. So I try to save money to the stuff I love to do, and step by step you end up with the money you need to go almost anywhere in the world, right, actually. So my advice would be, if you really love what you do, if you really want to be the best you can in this field, so yeah, you have to make choices, especially if you're not rich, of course, then you have to make choices, but in the end it's possible. Everything is possible, I believe that.
Yeah, exactly. We just have to save a lot of money.
Yeah.
If we can. Number 10. Are you ever afraid while you travel? And do you travel alone or with somebody? Bo van Dijk.
I can be more afraid of crossing a very high bridge than I am on the verge of a volcano or among people. Yeah. Or among people holding Kalashnikovs. I'm very calm in those situations, so I'm not afraid at all. Actually, somehow I enjoy it when the stuff gets a bit rough, but in a nice way. I don't want anybody to be suffering or something like that. I'm just saying that usually I'm not afraid of those situations.
Wow. Tough guy.
No. Actually, I'm very thoughtful guy. I try to balance all the risks all the time, but I'm a risk taker. Yes, I would see it that way because sometimes when you want something, you have to take risks, and you cannot postpone it until you are 90. So we have to do it when we were there.
You have to do it now.
Yeah, I have to do it now.
When you're fit enough to do it. Number 11, which languages do you speak? And are there any languages you'd like to learn for a specific journey? From Marike Meijer.
Yeah, so I speak Portuguese, that's my native language. And also I'm very fluent in Spanish because it's like a neighbor language to Portuguese. I can speak English like I'm speaking right now. Also, I can speak
Okay.
French, although it's a bit rusty. And with these 4 languages, actually, I'm able to travel almost all over the world because they are among the 6 most spoken languages in the world. But I would also love to learn a little bit more of Mandarin. I know like about 100 words, but
That
not.
could be handy, right?
Yeah, that could be handy. And also, in the past, I could also speak a little bit of Bahasa Indonesia, but since 2007, I don't do it daily, so I'm starting to lose my vocabulary.
And is there any language you'd like to learn for a specific journey?
Yeah, maybe Mandarin. Mandarin would be nice because there's a lot. China is a huge country. I've been to China maybe 12 times, and I believe I've just seen a drop of that country. So why not?
Cool. We're going to portfolio round number 3. We gaan naar portfolio ronde nummer 3. So portfolio round number 3, and this time we got 2 photos, and the first one is from Michiel van den Bos. It's a portrait, a Bali portrait 2020 is the description.
Okay, so about this photo, I really love portraits and I love this kind of framing, so tight framing and also black and white. But what I would say about this photo is that if the protagonist is the man, so his face is one of the darkest regions in the photo. So if you look at the photo, the hat and also the label, My Trip, it really draws the attention when you look at the portrait. So I believe that the hat being so bright and also the label, somehow they detract your attention from the eyes and the expression of the man. So although I really love this portrait, if I would like to be really picky about these kind of details in a photo, if it was my portrait, I would be very concerned about these 2 aspects. Otherwise, I love the way there's a very beautiful background separation from the subject, and also I believe that when you shoot a portrait, you need to think about what kind of message you want to convey to people that look at your photo. So is your photo about a farmer, or is your photo about a farmer who has been influenced by Western culture? Because this My Trip, My Adventure is a TV show that ran in Indonesia, and it still does, I believe. So what kind of message are you trying to convey? So don't have the portrait, so you have just another portrait. Try to find what kind of story are you trying to tell with this portrait. So I don't know what's the intention behind this photo.
Right.
So this would be my main comments to this photo, but otherwise, congratulations, it's a beautiful photo.
Nice. Thank you so much for your feedback. We're going to the second photo. It's from Kostas Ganassos. I'm not sure whether I pronounce it right. It's a very nice, brightful picture, right?
Yeah, so this photo from Kostas is a very beautiful landscape. I love symmetry, so the reflection plays a big role in this photo. Also, the warm tones and hues are very beautiful in the photo. The kind of, the calm that this photo conveys to you is very, very nice. So I would say that exposure-wise, composition-wise, if you're trying to evaluate a picture just for the landscape side of it, I believe it's a very technically and not only that very strong image. So I really like it as well.
Thank you. Thank you again for your feedback. We're going to the next round. It's the pro tip from Joel. De pro tip van Joel. So, Joel, your pro tip for our viewers.
Okay, so my pro tip would be more inspirational. I believe that you should do what you do with passion all the times. I think that should be your main driving force, not what you can accomplish on social media and what you can accomplish on a financial side, but first of all, your passion. Because if you're really passionate about what you're doing, I'm sure you'll be the best photographer or videographer you could ever be in your life. And that thing, I believe, will come through your images, through your work. I believe that will touch other people's lives and also your future clients. So I believe passion is the key. If you're doing it for any other reason, I believe you're not having the proper fuel to become the best photographer and videographer that you're dreaming to be.
Yes, you really have to love what you do, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because don't get fooled. Doing this is not easy. Most people see our jobs as kind of a dream job because they see people traveling and experiencing, and you have to make sure you have to keep in mind. I mean that it takes a really big toll on your personal life, financially, physically. You have to sometimes you don't eat properly for several weeks. You don't sleep properly. You get injured. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. And the only way you can cope with that is with passion, because passion is not a rational thing. It's just something that burns inside your chest, and that kind of energy is really necessary to fuel everything that you must do, that you want to do. So, and there's no shortcuts ever. There's no shortcuts. You have to walk the walk, you know. If you're willing to do that, I'm sure that you'll be most definitely successful at whatever you do in life. Either it's photography or just gardening.
Well, thank you so much for your lovely tip. What are you busy with at the moment? Are there any projects running or something?
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty busy at the moment. I'm shooting. We have created this series of documentaries for TV 4 years ago, and we are about to start season number 4. But because of the COVID situation, it can no longer be in foreign countries. So actually I'm shooting a lot in Portugal. We are creating 5 episodes in different regions of Portugal, and that's what's going to be premiered this July and August. So I'm actually 5 minutes late to start doing that, but this is good. Time pressure is good for this kind of job, and mostly shooting video, not only terrestrial but aerial as well, and lots of interviews with the actors, with farmers, with all kinds of jobs. So we're trying to get a perspective on how COVID affected their lives, how they are coping with it, and at the same time show Portugal as a beautiful country it is, and spark, again, the willingness to travel inside our own country, and also attract again people to Portugal when it's safe enough, because we are very dependent on tourism. And again, as a photographer and as a journalist, I believe that my task is also to contribute somehow to someone, and this is just a small brick that I'm trying to put in this big wall that everybody does as a whole. So we are trying to contribute this way with documentaries, inspirational, but at the same time with really good information.
Nice. I wish you a lot of luck with everything you're going to do.
Thank you so much.
I also want to thank you very much for being here with us and tell your story. So thank you so much, Joel.
Thank you so much, Wiliam, and to all of you guys. It's been really, really a pleasure. So I hope we can meet again soon. And also thank you very much to all the people, commenting and sending the photos for review. Thank you so much.
Nice. And if people want to check your website, it's Joel Santos, no?
Yes, my website is joelsantos.net, so welcome to visit it. And also I'm on Instagram and on Facebook, so it's Joel Santos Photo with PH. So let's meet there.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Check it out. Thank you so much. Goodbye,
Thank you so much,
Joel.
Romain. Bye bye.
Have a nice
bye -bye.
day.
See you next time. Bye bye.
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 En jij natuurlijk ook hartstikke bedankt voor het kijken. We hopen dat je er wat van op hebt gestoken. Volgende week is er natuurlijk weer een nieuwe Meet the Pro. En deze keer gaan we spreken met bruidsfotograaf Ashwin Gishawan. Hij komt bij ons in de studio. We hopen natuurlijk dat je er dan ook weer bij bent. Heb jij vragen of wil je je portfolio ook delen met een van onze nieuwe pro's? Ga dan even naar onze Facebookpagina en kijk naar de post van Meet the Pro. Daaronder in de comment kun je daarbij je vragen en je portfolio delen. Hartstikke bedankt voor het kijken nogmaals en graag tot de volgende. Doei!